All right, welcome. So today I wanted to share with you how I'd break down a portrait and the head shape and the structures and what I'm thinking about when I draw the portrait. And recently I saw this movie, The Passion of Joan of Arc, from 1926, I believe. And I got to see it in theaters with a live score, and it was really, really incredible, beautiful. But seeing the face is just so huge, like 40, 50 feet high, and being up close, seeing these giant structures, I was just thinking about how I would draw them. I just love the contrast and the clarity of the film and the imagery. So here we're going to draw Joan, who's looking up and a little to the left, and I'll just take you through my thought process of how I would approach this. So let's get started. As with all drawings and compositions, I'd always start with the big shape first, kind of the foundation upon which we're going to start laying things in, and see how they relate to each other upon that structure. So I like to start with it's this data-rich, force-filled head shape that I like to use. Just demoing it right here of a face looking to the left. And so it's like a teardrop or an apostrophe with an exaggerated arc of that chin. And the benefit of it, it's just, you can do it really quickly and instantly know which way the head's facing. To contrast that, if we rotate it 90 degrees towards us, of course, from the front, the head looks kind of like an upside down egg. Kind of like that, and head shapes are all different, of course, but this is just the general nice way to start. So she is looking up and to our left. So let's rotate this at that nice angle. Got the back of the cranium launching over here, top of the forehead. Then we want to get that chin angle, and that tells us what way the head's facing. So something like that. Maybe it's a little too much. And then I'm going to exaggerate this curve of the chin. Of course it comes down, but this is actually just to kind of state really quickly the angle the head's launching in. And when I was watching the film, going from this chin node up to this corner of the forehead, just trying to separate the front of the face, this front plane, from the side of the face. The sides are kind of like rotating outwards a little like that. So I'm going to just impose this upon the model. And it's not this right angle like Loomis, which I don't love the Loomis method. It kind of looks like an android. And I kind of want to start with an organic shape from the get-go. So I'm creating this more obtuse rotation from the front plane of the face to the side. And of course, like, it's more nuanced, and we'll get into that. But this is just how I would start the structure. And I kind of got into the head shape. I may indeed try to incorporate the whole neck mass and stuff, kind of feel that in with some general shapes, but we can actually get into that in a little bit. So from there, the eyes would be halfway from the top of the head to the bottom of the chin. And the top of the head is actually a little bit back on the skull as it tips forward to the forehead. Here's the chin, so halfway down around here, and we're going to put in this little notch, kind of like an arrow or a carrot. I think that's what you call it when you're typing. And that's the side of the ocular cavity. Is that what that's called? Just on the skull. And it's great because it tells us, so imagining from the back, halfway would be around here, because it tells us, again, which way the head's facing. And that's so important, not to underestimate the value of, can we say, a lot with very little early on, because we don't want to put in too many marks and confuse the map that we're building up on and get ourselves lost. So I'm just throwing that in. This one's a bit tapered because we're kind of looking down at the side of the face as it goes like that. We've got the brow ridge rolling over. We'd probably put in the bottom plane of the nose. And before I can do that, the nose, so the eyes are halfway. Hop up a little bit for the eyebrow, and then halfway between the brow and the chin, put the nose. Slight tilt, nose buries itself about halfway into the face, into that cheek area. So about from the brows to the chin, right, about halfway. And what I'm doing here is looking at that bottom plane that's tipped up at us of her nose. Like if we were going to go from the corner of the nostril, kind of get this nice triangle pyramid shape with the tip chopped off. And of course the under arc of that nose, we'll probably add that in a little later, but to get going, I just want to get this landmark of the bottom plane of the nose. And again, each thing I add really thrusts into our mind the angle and the positioning of the head, which is key to, it's the basis of the rest of the composition in the drawing. So from bottom of the nose to bottom of the chin, the mouth on average tends to be about a third down the opening of the lips. And a third down from that might be the notch to the chin. But again, it's different person to person. Sometimes it's much lower for the opening of the mouth or higher. So it's just a nice way to start. But she looks kind of third down. So as we're going to come down, remember that's rolling towards us, this mass, this mound of mouth form. So about third down, just notch there. I can move it around as the drawing progresses. And let's get in the sides, the corners of the mouth. So this one's here about, it's rolling this way. I'll get another one right there. Good enough to get going. I want to knock in that nice little arc so the eyes kind of sink into the skull. I'm seeing here this darker triangle, and it's telling us that the forehead's coming down like a flat plane, and then it sinks and recedes a bit into the skull. So there's this underhook, a plane of shadow, and then it rolls back forward with the cheek. So you can just drop that in there loosely, and that'll kind of send that the eyeball backwards into the skull. Cool. So let's keep floating onwards. Just putting in the border of the hair, that angle. So I can use my pencil like that. I oftentimes like to use the tip to catch the angle. Hover it a couple times, and then my muscle memory will repeat it over here. It's something you might have to practice a bit, but it's great to start to get that sense within your eye-hand coordination, I guess. I'm just catching that notch of contrast. Pretty good at it. Tells us that that hair is on the back side of the forehead, which is kind of coming forward to us. Cool, so some more landmarks. Good ones are the inside and the outside corner of the eye. And notice that this isn't completely horizontal. The outside corner is a bit rolled upwards. Again, because the face is tilted up, and as we go across, it's coming like that. So mark that a little higher. It's pretty cool because that really tells me that we're looking up at this head. The far eye, I can't really see that because it's kind of tipped behind the nose, which looks like the upper corner of the nose is actually a little higher than the lower notch of the eye that I put in there. And for all I know, that notch of the eye might be in the wrong position, so we'll have to keep checking it in relation to everything else as we continue. But I'm just going to try to sense out where that is. We'll average out. Yeah, the nose has a bit of a bump to it, but we'll average that out into one single line just to get us going. We can add those details back in. as we confirm kind of the placement of everything. Cool. So another good one is the bottom of the earlobe. Ear is going to come about halfway back into the head. Bottom of the earlobe usually lines up with the nose, bottom of the nose, top around the eyebrow, ears tilted back a little bit. You have this like kind of a cursive D shape. And as you age, the ear just keeps growing, I'm pretty sure. And so sometimes earlobes go way down, or people have smaller ears, so it can go higher. So always check with your subject to get that likeness that's completely unique to them. So let's, to demonstrate that in space, actually I want to move this notch in a tiny bit. Just felt a bit wide over here. So from the bottom of the nose, we're going to go over the form, and we're just trying to really get this into the head with everything we look at. Draw on the flat piece of paper is feel the form as it rolls with your mind, with your eye, with your hand. So we're going to go from here, again, because it lines up at the bottom of the nose, and traverse across the form, feel that cheek, and we hit around there. And it's just an guesstimate. We'll check it. Looking horizontally, it looks like it's just above the horizontal of that mouth, so we can move that up. Acknowledging, I don't even know if this is in the perfect place, but that's kind of how it works. We just spiral and keep checking in reference to everything else. It's just, drawing is just a long journey of putting in a best effort and then correcting it and adjusting it as we proceed, and then building that sensitivity to kind of feeling the spatial placement of these shapes and values, and it's really what it is. Drop in that notch. Everything I laid down is subject to change. That's really key to know. Like, don't get too attached to anything, and that's kind of the fun journey. Is like you become more fluid, more liquid, just willing to adjust as we move forward, which is something deep there about life. So I'm looking at this corner of the chin, averaging out the center. Where does it line up with? Just in front of the eye. So on the image or the model, if I have a landmark on here, but I'm trying to get somewhere else, I'll go from here on the model, see what it lines up with. Maybe the inside of the corner of the mouth, or that just inside the eye. Then go from that place I shot to, and then reverse engineer it from the eye, go down, and that's how I triangulate. So now it's from here. I was trying to launch off to get this angle of the jaw that kind of comes up, and it's like from here to here, here to here. This one's a bit longer than that, I'm sensing. And as we go, we can kind of like soften some of these initial marks. And I was putting them kind of dark so you can see them on the camera. So I probably wouldn't push this hard in general. But this is to kind of demonstrate my thinking more than to create a finished piece of art. The halfway mark on that arc kind of lines up with this. So you see I reverse triangulated that. Let's see how far back this, there you go, something like that. Hair comes in. Right here I'm kind of seeing this funny cartoon claw shape. I'm just like looking with my eyes. If you could see my head, I'm just bump, 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 bump. Really important to, this is more important than the drawing. It's kind of leading the drawing, and so you have to just make sure you're observing the model as much as you can. So back to this claw. So I kind of saw this funny crab claw here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually like not look at the anatomy or what I'm drawing, the hair and anything. I'm just gonna try to draw this funky claw shape, and I'll show you what the result is in just a moment, which would make this actually kind of have a little more fat pad coming out. Cool. So I drew the claw, disregarded the what I'm actually looking at in terms of ear or cheek or neck or hair. And so I drew this abstract shape, and the result is I kind of snuck up mentally on the literal nameable masses I'm drawing. And I snuck up and actually drew the outside of an ear pretty effectively while not thinking ear or neck, because it's like this intersection of all these complex phenomena of like the neck muscle curving in, hitting that corner of the jaw, rotating up. Like, that's a lot to think about. So instead, detach, draw the abstract shapes as you see them, and I'll try to look for a couple more to demonstrate. Like, instead of drawing this shadow shape and thinking about the collar, I'm going to draw this kind of curvy leaf right there and do that instead. And the result is very interesting because the destination is the same, and if anything, you kind of have a more accurate result by detaching from what we expect to see, if that makes any sense. What I just did there, I'm following this up, seeing how it hits there. I'm going to ride this backwards with that angle arc. And so let's catch this. I'm just looking at this angle, not thinking lips. Bam. Not to the chin. It's sometimes nice to just circle these that we kind of know they're spheroid, ovoid masses that are just buried underneath the skin, almost as a placeholder, but also mentally I feel the volume here now. Like I can almost shade it like a sphere of sorts if I was ready to get into shading. But I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, just for the sake of demonstration. But yeah, again, when in doubt, circle it. It's kind of a fun little loose placeholder and a trick that I like to use. Cool, I'm just going to start sensing in sharp moments. We can start to pull in this cheek. Where does it arc in? It kind of has like a harmonic of that lip, so that lip curve, if we are happy with this one, satisfied with it, we'll kind of get that complementary radiating curve that's a little taller in arc. Coming up here, S curve out a little bit and then back in. Cool, good enough for now. Just being selective with my marks. Maybe I see this tiny curve there, intersects, soft there. Okay. S curve on the nose, so it comes down, arcs in and back. But notice the relative lengths of these marks in the S, like long, medium, short. So let's make sure that we catch that. Long, short. And as you practice, you'll kind of get this hand-eye sense that I can just match the angles just by looking with my mind. But until then, as you need, kind of sense them out with the hand or use the angle of the pencil. But I'm totally happy with kind of getting the gist and the energy and the emotion of the subject onto the page. It's a great exercise to get it accurate and perfect, because then you kind of embody the sensitivity towards how to read forms, and it's It's kind of why they'd make you do that in art school, so that you become perfectly fluent at that sense, and then with that fluency you can detach and create poetry, and you can suggest using fewer lines because you, in your mind, are actually drawing all the lines with kind of your unconscious intuition, to the extent that you don't actually have to mark them with the pencil. You can sense them and hover right past it and just actually go for the more powerful mark. Kind of what I'm doing here. She looks a bit toadish because the eyes kind of look like they're looking out, but I know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of filling in the values of the iris and the pupil. And I'm choosing this angle because, let's say the eyes looking forward and flat. I'm just drawing the center line of what would be maybe a plus sign or something. But I wouldn't do the horizontal, because I'm feeling the face always kind of like that. So if the eye were to, let's draw this one. If it were to kind of be looking up, that center would be like that. Kind of make sense? And then I would just fill it in, but again, you'd have to make sure you're using a medium that you can erase out the highlights, or just go darker and still erase out the highlights. But we have whiteout, we can play with it. But that's how I think about the catching in the iris pupil value there. So it's hooking in a lot more right there. Bam. There's a sharp there. Man, it looks pretty wild. Hopefully it'll come together. We'll see. There you go. So I'm just, again, laying in some of the value as I proceed. Circling this fat pad that's right above the eye. Back to the ear. I'll just sense out. I'm just seeing this rectangle of value. So I'll notch that in there, which helps me pivot to get to this fun one. And because I kind of did the border of the hair, it's almost like taping off if you're going to paint a room, it's nice to tape the edges off so you can kind of go wild on the middle of the wall. And because I did that, now I can kind of let the side of the pencil follow the angles of the energy of that hair. So I'm going to just keep addressing the hair with my eyes and kind of listen to what it wants to go. It's like that angle, this angle, back to that angle. And I'll do another video on hair itself, but it is great for I guess energetic flow practice maybe, or I don't know what you'd call that. But my hand is very much attuned to the flow of the waves of the hair, like changing my angle according to it, and has a lot to do with drawing fabric, which again, we'll probably cover that in another video. Seeing where there's sharp edges from the back, it's sharper there, kind of lighter there, sharp one there. Get cut off by the border of the film, so let's just draw that there. Sweet. We'll bring this in a bit. Might have made her eyes a bit wide, but it's kind of fun. Okay, sweet. I can circle the highlight. Bring this in a bit. Bring that notch up. Oh, with the eyebrow, it's good to be selective with don't just like make a single weighted line all the way across. That will flatten a drawing instantly. So let's be selective as we move forward. Just pick see where it kind of has contrast and pull those in. We kind of want some to vary our line weight as we move down any river of line that's across the form. Like vary it. Make sure it does not stay evenly weighted. Like if I drew this and I kind of did this all the way down, that looks so flat, as opposed to, and again I'm referring to this corner, as opposed to having sharp, dark, and then a little softer, maybe here, kind of softer. That's not so helpful out of context, but pull that in. I'm noticing it's a sharp edge there. Nice, nice. Cool, so I hope this is helpful. And I think I'll do more where I'm just gonna draw and then probably do a voiceover so I can be more effective in the drawing. It's kind of hard to talk and sketch at the same time, but it's good practice, I'm sure. That kind of reminds me of like one of those, is it oak? Leaves that are asymmetrical. And so I'm gonna, instead of drawing the nostril and going, what am I looking at? I just draw that funny mitten-like upside down leaf, fill it in with a light value, then come back through and be attentive towards the sharp edges, and then draw the slightly darker value upon that shape of wherever it is. We'll move our pencil to get the bottom plane of that mass. And look at, we can see that curve of the lip, and then an inverse curve into the philtrum right there. And it hooks back with the nose. There's just this endless curve throughout that form. And again, that just shows just how interwoven the truth of organic forms really are. Like, we tend to think the mouth is different and separate from the nose, different and separate from the eye and the hair and all that, but it's absolutely not. Like, remove one, the entire thing topples it. They need the context of each other. The organs and the organism support each other. Like, it's actually, things look separate, but they're not. And there's a lot of beautiful depth to that, just in life in general, and seeing how things actually do relate, even though we've, for societal and technology purposes, have separated them. The base truth is it's all firing together and kind of in this one beautiful, I guess, orchestra of sorts. There we go, feeling that out. Bring this, and at no point, I swear to you, am I thinking teeth or mouth or lips as I'm drawing this. Like, I had to a bit for the notches, perhaps, and you can flip back and forth between these mindsets, but I'm just seeing a sharp moment, and then I'm seeing what angle is it. It's that angle, bam. And does it fizzle out towards the end? Maybe a little bit. And where does it hit? And then what's that angle relative? And then make sure we're kind of in harmony with everything else going on in the face. Sweet. So probably going to wrap this one up. I hope that was kind of informative. Another note on eyebrows. Notice the hair as we are on the inside. It's kind of angled that way. It does this very quick backflip, and then the hair's going that way. So we can address that really quick here. Bop, bop, bop. There, see that? And I'm kind of exaggerating the individual hairs on the drawing just to make that point and teach it, but and change up the line variation. I guess to finish, I might hover through and pick moments of contrast that pop out to me, that sharp edge right there. Bam, and I'm going to send that edge, that line, into an edge this way, fizzle it out. Sharp moment there, here, just being selective. And this is what makes every artwork, every artist different, is that which I choose, that which pops out to me. And all of my history and memories and etc. will be different from the next person, from the next person, from the next person. They choose to go left, I choose to go right. We pick different colors, or we sense different things. So that's what keeps it very interesting. All the while just trying to follow our truth, stay in harmony with the subject or the drawing or our imagination, what we're picturing, and seeing where it takes us. And that's kind of the fun meditative aspect of drawing and art making. And the more you kind of get these patterns down into your unconscious, subconscious, the more it can like kind of take you for the ride. And you can kind of just be sit in the passenger seat, back seat, and the subject will kind of draw itself in a sense on your paper. And that's, I think, where the sensation, I often describe it as, it feels like flying, like I'm in a lucid dream, kind of like witnessing the drawing or the subject draw itself on my paper, whether from life or from photo, when I'm really in what we call flow. And all right, coming to a close. That filtrum here. I see another nice little arc. Let's capture the essence of that hook. See, it's a bit looser in the top, and then it hooks sharper towards the bottom. Right there. And it's a bit sharper in terms of line quality, and then fuzzier towards the top. Drew it a bit dark, but let's just do this to kind of equalize everything. I said I was going to bring this to an end, but I can't stop drawing, but I need to, but I want to. Cool, so I hope some of this was helpful. And again, this film had so many incredible portraits, so I think I'm going to keep doing a couple more of these, and probably for my own personal studies, maybe in some paintings. Lots of emotion in these faces, and just noticing there's so many different types of faces, and they are all in complete 100% harmony with themselves, and that's what we're trying to capture, that organic, natural truth. And then it's incredible because we get to be a participant in that, witnessing through very close observing. And the more you know what to look for, the more you get to, I guess, be enamored with witnessing something that someone who might not know what to look for might not get to appreciate and enjoy. They just see, oh, it's just a nose. I'm like, no, it's something more than that. It's got this beautiful weave and interconnection to everything, into space and light and all that good stuff. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope that was helpful. Breaking it down a bit. Eyes halfway, go up low for the eyebrows, nose halfway, third, bam. All right, peace.